Second, gain the proper perspective. In this episode, we are continuing with the second out of 7 steps, answering the question, how to turn a negative experience into a positive outcome. This is dynamic, it's powerful, get ready. So, my name's Doug Andrew, and I've helped many families throughout the 48 years that I've more or less counseled and taught families how to be responsible and accountable, teach their children, their grandchildren. My wife and I have mentored many troubled youth. I'm on a board of teenage suicide prevention. My wife has spent countless hours, thousands and thousands of hours, at the Christmas box with little children who also feel down and they have negative experiences. They've been abused and they're in protective custody. Your heart just goes out to these young people when they feel like, golly, why does life suck for me, is sort of their vernacular. So I'm going to go into step number 2. If you have not watched the first episode of the first step, it talked about getting the proper perspective by having an attitude of gratitude. But in this step, I'm talking about the big picture perspective. So here we go. So if you did not watch the first step, I explained that I have a 20-page document that I created several years ago called the Negative Experience Transformer, and it goes through all 7 steps. This is step number 2. And as you begin to go through this process of transforming a negative experience into a positive outcome, this second step is critical, because once you sort of have this mental shift into what you're grateful for, which is step number 1, step number 2 is to think about the big picture, gain the proper perspective. For example, years ago was hunting up in Alaska, and the plane, the float plane drops us off and says, you know what, the weather doesn't look good. If the lake freezes over, you will have to walk out to the nearest airstrip, which is 20 miles away. Guess what? The lake froze over. Now, it did thaw out the day before the pilot returned, but we had relentless rain, pouring rain. We had over 100-mile-an-hour winds. Our tent poles got busted. It was horrible, and I was soaking wet for a week. This was in the month of October in Alaska, out in the middle of nowhere. And I kept thinking, okay, I can endure anything for 24 hours. And I had to convince myself of that 7 days in a row. Okay, I can endure anything for 24 hours. And then I got to the next 24, the next 24. But I began to realize this is just a small moment in time. Let's look at the big picture. You know, during our normal lifetime, sometimes a negative experience is just a tiny, tiny drop in this bucket we call life. And so what we need to do is begin to realize that why do we go through experiences like this? What is life all about? What's the real purpose of life? Okay? And it's to gain experience, not to have everything go hunky-dory. Now, I'm a Christian, and in the Bible, we are taught, you know what? The rain is going to pour on the just and the unjust. We're not exempt from going through trials. In fact, Christ said the night before he was crucified that he was the true vine and the Father's the husbandman. But he says, any branch in me, because he was talking to his 11 remaining disciples, that beareth not fruit, that his Father in heaven is going to cast them out. It doesn't have any use for them. If you do bear fruit, you're going to be purged. Why? So you can bear more fruit. It's sort of like when you have to prune a tree. I teach my children and grandchildren, deem it an honor when you have negative experiences, you have setbacks, because this will help you grow strong. It's sort of like a butterfly or a baby chick. If you will take a chrysalis and you watch it, because several years ago with our grandchildren at Grandpa's Camp, we have an annual Grandpa's Camp, we gave all of the grandchildren a jar with 5 caterpillars in it, and they watched in awe as they made their little cocoon, the chrysalis. And a couple of weeks later, when it began to emerge in the measure of its full creation, As a monarch butterfly, what are they always tempted to do? Help it out. And if they do, what happens to the butterfly? It dies. And so they will never forget that lesson, because I want them to know when they are going through a tough time, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, we will be there to give you a hand up, but never a hand out. We don't want you to be a clam on the bottom of the ocean, so to speak, waiting for plankton to float to you all the time. See, America was built with an eagle on the top of the flagpole, not a clam. Where you go out, you're in motion and you're adding value in the world. And as you do that, you will learn to overcome. So when you gain the proper perspective, many times I need to attribute one of my favorite books. It's called The Majesty of Calmness. It was written, as of the recording of this episode, over 115 years ago by William George Jordan. It is a book our family loves. When we study it as a family, everybody devours it, and we have conversations, discussions around the dinner table. It's the theme of many of our family vacations with a purpose. I'm going to give you a quote from 2 short paragraphs in that book, and you'll think it was written for our time yesterday. Now, before I share with you this profound quote from the book, The Majesty of Calmness, if this is intriguing you, if this is helping you, and you can think of somebody who would benefit from watching this episode, be sure and share, post a comment, click like, but subscribe and click on the little bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a new episode, because I post an episode almost on a daily basis addressing a question or a concern that people have. I have over 500 on my YouTube channel, 3-Dimensional Wealth. And at the end of this episode, I'm going to show you how you can get a copy of this Negative Experience Transformer, all 7 steps, and also a copy of my book, Entitlement, Abolition. For free, you simply cover some of the shipping and handling. So get ready. I want you to listen with your heart more than with your ears. This is just a snippet of what is in this book by William George Jordan, written over 115 years ago, and you'll think it was written yesterday for our time. He's talking about how to have a majesty of calmness when things aren't going right in your life. Here we go. He says, when the worries and cares of the day fret you and begin to wear upon you, and you chafe under the friction, be calm. Stop, rest for a moment, and let calmness and peace assert themselves. If you let these irritating outside influences get the better of you, you are confessing your inferiority to them by permitting them to dominate you. Study the disturbing elements each by itself. Bring all the willpower of your nature to bear upon them, and you will find that they will, one by one, melt into nothingness like vapors fading before the sun. The glow of calmness that will then pervade your mind, the tingling sensation of an inflow of new strength, may be to you the beginning of the revelation of the supreme calmness that is possible for you. Then, in some great hour of your life, when you stand face to face with some awful trial, when the structure of your ambition and life work crumbles in a moment, you will be brave. You can then fold your arms calmly, look out undismayed and undaunted upon the ashes of your hope, upon the wreck of what you have faithfully built, and with brave heart and an unfaltering voice, you may say, so let it be. I will build again. Now, that's just 2 paragraphs out of this book. It's a 2-hour read. I would highly recommend you search for it. I have an edition myself where I do a foreword because it's public domain, and that's found on my website, 3-Dimensional Wealth. This is one of the most critical things when you're going through a negative experience, is to gain the proper perspective. At the end of the day, is this going to matter that much? I will overcome. Does that make sense? So if you want to learn all 7 steps to transform a negative experience into a positive outcome, this is only step number 2. Be sure and watch the other episodes. Subscribe to this channel. And also, I want to gift you a copy of this book called Entitlement, Abolition. In here, you'll also have the opportunity to get a copy of the Negative Experience Transformer, as well as several tools that are available that I talk about in this book. This retails for $20. I'll pay for the book. You simply contribute a nominal amount towards the shipping and handling. I'll cover the rest of that cost. I'll fire out a copy to you. Plus, there's options there for if you'd like to listen and learn or watch and learn. There's even an 18-hour master class. But I want you to begin to empower yourself and be able to lift others up, because we all go through negative experiences in life. And this is about you and your brighter future and helping you care about those that you love.